Beautiful. Oh, so we're just starting now, recording. Okay. I'm Diane Devenyi, founder of the Learning Force, author and creator of literacy programs and books, just as a recap. And we have a wonderful Maria guiding us today. And there was another Maria, famous Maria, who sang a song. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. When we read, we begin with ABC. And that is really where I begin. But it's also when we write, we begin with ABC. And I have been passionate about the 52 letters, upper and lower case, that are challenging for so many children and adults in breaking through to literacy success. And I'm going to begin by sharing a story about an 8-year-old boy. And he was in special education class for 2 years. So every day he was in a small class, getting a lot of remedial support. And he had weekly sessions with an occupational therapist. When he was asked to print out his upper and lowercase alphabets, this at the bottom of the screen is all that he could produce. 22 symbols, not all of them even English letters. He then spent a day and a half relearning his alphabet in the multisensory way that I now guide children and adults and families in. And this is what he went home and wrote to his teacher because he was, oops, oh no. Okay. This is my challenge day. Okay. See if it will work this time. Okay, I think I'm going to perhaps just do this in this format. I'm sorry that I don't have the big screen happening, but somehow it's just not working that way. So at the bottom of the image here, you see that there was there were 22 symbols that he could produce. After a day and a half of relearning the alphabet in a multisensory way, he went home and he wrote this letter to his teacher because he was so excited. This is when I realized how important the alphabet foundation is for all literacy learning, whether it's for dyslexia, whether it's for dysgraphia, starting with the alphabet and really owning it. And I'll explain to you what ownership means to me of the alphabet in a moment, but that is the difference. So that means that it could be time to really redefine dysgraphia because, as we've heard, it's very confusing. A lot of people misunderstand it. They also don't appreciate its impact on people. And so, oh, I just want to make sure that you actually are seeing this screen because it does. Oh yeah, okay, I see you are. That I have learned that by focusing specifically on what it is that we observe with dysgraphia, that it starts making it understandable to people. And I'd also like to say the way I've started to explain the difference between dyslexia and dysgraphia to people is dyslexia is the experience and the challenge of bringing what is outside in the world in front of you, bringing it in and comprehending it and being able to interact with that. Dysgraphia to me is what's inside of you struggling to bring it outside into the world. So I've created my own little definition of dysgraphia: the inability to produce letters, words, and sentences that follow conventional rules for placement, position, and condition. And that means, and so for that reason, I've been using an assessment tool that I call the Hidden Genius Literacy Assessment. And that's what Maria referred to as something that my Project 111K, my goal is to have 111,000 children and adults experience the Hidden Genius Literacy Assessment before the end of 2026. And the difference between the Hidden Genius Literacy Assessment, as you'll see with some live samples, is that traditional assessments, they identify symptoms, they give results and sometimes scores, they assign labels and recommend accommodations, and they generally end with a report. The Hidden Genius Literacy Assessment focuses on what I call a significant root cause, which is an incomplete alphabet foundation. When somebody is not able to produce an alphabet that matches what you are experiencing out in the real world, then you are you have a confusion happening that is going to interfere with your ability to benefit from all the other amazing programs that we've heard about today, and be able to apply yourself fully to your literacy experiences. I come up with a coherence score that shows specific gaps. And I'll explain in a moment how we determine that. Then there are targeted, actionable repatterning activities, many of which have been described today, playful ones, hands-on, multisensory learning, all of those matter. And at the highlight of what I do is helping people own their alphabet by making their own out of clay, which I'll talk about in a moment. And so what we're doing is beginning a resolution plan. So I've been talking about these assessments. I'm going to show you how simple they can be and how much information you can glean from them. As you can see, this is a 10-year-old student who is in grade 5. That's what we call it in Canada. And asked to print out the upper and lowercase alphabet, exhibits a fair amount of confusion between putting the case in the right place. Now, this particular student generally had letters where they belong, although you can see some of them are falling below the line, like in the uppercase P. The Q is not an uppercase Q. And you see that there's just confusion. There are 2 X's. And I think that at the end, they put Y and Z because they probably were singing the alphabet song. And so they were thinking X, Y, and Z, and they don't really know that it's an and not an N. So this is a way of seeing why, if somebody is struggling with literacy or numeracy, that all these other great efforts are going to land on a faulty foundation, and why it's so important to complete the alphabet foundation in a multisensory way. Now, this sample is from an adult who was learning English and came to me because she was struggling to pass the English proficiency exams for her field. And so if you look here, you see, wow, like you wouldn't call that dysgraphia because look at how neat it is. That's the general. But those of us who are working in the world of dysgraphia understand that there's more to it than whether the letters are neat. It's also understanding the ability, like the alphabet, knowing the alphabet and being able to turn your thoughts into coherent words. And so this person has missed out the letter H. And so it doesn't seem to be that big a deal, but there, and also other aspects like the uppercase Y is not an uppercase Y. It's a lowercase y inserted in there. So there's just even small amounts of confusion around the alphabet can impact how well somebody can communicate with and turn their thoughts into written words. And if you look at the sample of the writing sample about the drawing, you see that there's a lot of correction. And so coming up with those ideas and writing them down is a challenge. So even though somebody would never suspect this person of struggling with dysgraphia, by my definition, that if they cannot produce the accurate letters, words, and sentences, then according to conventional rules, then that is dysgraphia. So I've talked about the alphabetter experience, which is how I take children and adults through hands-on, multisensory ways of integrating the alphabet fully into the body and the brain. And a favorite quote, as the body moves, the brain grooves. And many of us here presenting today understand how important all of that is to learning success. And it's also recognizing the wonders of neuroplasticity, because it wasn't very long ago that it was believed that the brain after the age of 3 was losing cells, and therefore learning had to happen by that age, and that as we age, we weren't able to learn. But now with neuroimaging, we see that the brain can do marvelous things. And when we work with it, we can rewire it and we can change it to do anything we want. And particularly when we make sure that the mindset is positive, that there's a growth mindset, a belief in one's ability to change, activation of one's focus and balance, being physically present and consciously choosing to be successful. All of those elements happen. And the play that has been talked about today certainly encourages all of that to occur as well. So what we do when we make our alphabets out of clay is create something that people become very attached to. We begin with the uppercase alphabet. And I liked an earlier talk about the fact that the uppercase alphabet, it tends to have fewer issues than the lowercase for reversals, but there are plenty. For example, I'm sure many have seen the uppercase J, the uppercase Z, and others being reversed. And so when you start with the alphabet and you make your own letters out of clay, you become very attached to them. And this sense of ownership, every other way that someone is making letters, even producing them, with paint or with sand or other ways, I've never seen anything as impactful as picking up a rope of clay and turning that clay into your letters. I've got here an example of an A. And so once you've made your alphabet, you put every letter in your hands, you send the picture, and we've talked about visual learners today and how important it is to activate their ability to fully access their visual strengths. And so when you feel it, this has weight to it, but it's also, who made this alphabet? Whose alphabet is this? And the person identifies, this is mine. Well, how do you know? Because I made it. And they become very attached to it. And then we move on to the lowercase, and we do it from Z to A to continue to grow neural connections in the brain and expand the way the brain is connecting to the letters. And then we play a number of games with partners and in groups, and clapping and tapping and calling out and backwards and forwards, which is an amazing experience for people to really wire and connect the entire being in this certainty of these crucial symbols for our literacy success. And I've worked with students as young as 4 years old. And my oldest student so far was 77 years old when he worked with me. On the left, there's a quote from a mother in England whose son was struggling because he was only being taught cursive, and he was struggling with dysgraphia. And so I suggested that the mother tell the teacher that we're going to be working on printing first, making sure the printed symbols are solid before returning to cursive. And we had fantastic results. This 8-year-old boy, the mother said, 4 months with you produced more results than 5 years of school. He earned, suddenly started earning every week awards at school for neat handwriting, for his athletic activities, something that he'd never really excelled at before, and also just for his willingness to try things, his openness. He was winning awards, and the family was thrilled. He is now in high school, and his dysgraphia is a distant memory. The quote on the right is from 77-year-old person that I worked with. When he found out what I was doing, he said, I'm left-handed, which we talked about, and I was forced to be right-handed in school, and I felt that I could never write properly. I always felt stupid, and when he heard about what I was doing, he asked if he could join in a family cohort that I was working with. And he had tremendous results, and he was sending me messages. I woke up laughing again today, and I find that people are listening to me in ways that they never did before. And I know that's really from him, that he felt different, so people were responding to him differently. And this is something that's really important to understand, is the critical importance of somebody feeling that they belong, and that they are valued, and that they are capable of succeeding, whether it's a child or an adult. Just by their lack of confidence, they can, in a way, repel others and have problems with friendships and things like that. So all of this just all rolls into a complete human experience. So I'm asking for all of us to recognize how important the alphabet and the certainty, ownership of the alphabet is, from a multisensory way that activates the brain and fully connects to our humanity, because we are now in a world of AI, and there are many things that AI can do better than humans can do, but there are some things that AI cannot do, and that is being a connected, emotional, caring human who has the ability to create in ways that AI cannot. And I want to see every single person fully expressing their unique human qualities. And it breaks my heart when I see people struggling and making excuses for dysgraphia or laughing it off. So I'd like to finish off. This is my book, Dear Genius, Harness the Hidden Power in Your ABCs, which can be accessed through Amazon throughout the world. And when I was writing the introduction for this book, I was inspired to write a poem that I inserted at the back of the book, and I'd like to share it with you now. Dear Genius, yes, I'm talking to you, you whose eyes betray the wounds of being the bully or the bullied in the schoolyard, remembering to this day the feeling of the pit in your stomach that day when you gave the wrong answer in class and everybody laughed. I hear what you think you can or cannot do, and what your third grade teacher sent home in notes about your missing the brains, effort, or focus votes. It's time to cross the moat from that world with your banner unfurled and wearing the coat of endless possibilities. It's been many score that the hallowed doors of learning have been my muse. School may bore you, but I refuse to lose my vision of genius for all who are bruised. And in my cruise, this is what I've seen. The truth about learning is ever changing. They keep rearranging the stories as the academy jostles for glory, inventing new labels that pain and worry, the cruelest form of allegory, and changing nothing that really matters. If reading or math cause stress or your writing's a mess, then you have yet to address the critical basics for your learning success, or be impressed by the value of knowing some things with certainty. Your foundation had gaps, so you made your own hacks, cheated or guessed, hid your shame to this day in a game you weren't equipped to play. But don't assign blame. We're all doing our best, caught in a system that is foundation-less and misunderstands how to use the test. Your stutter shows you have work to do to find the true genius residing in you. You choke on your words, desperate to be heard. This may sound absurd, but here's the word. The obstacle in your mouth starts in your head, and your dread of being misread turns your tongue to lead. They call you slow, but you're really too fast to stay with the pack, and in your mind go back and forth with thoughts and visions, suffering derision because you don't go with their flow. If they only knew what you know, if there was time to explore, they could ask for more. But the rush to cover the curriculum means that instead you lie in your bed wondering, what's wrong with my head? There's nothing wrong with you, you who seek only to accept and be accepted in love, but feel the need to succeed, to rise above the others or fall behind. It's not a race, sweet child of grace. Their taste for haste exacerbates confusion and comes from an illusion of separation from the whole, resulting in waste of your potential as you play the wrong roles, chase unfulfilling goals, and eat from the bowl of limitations. It's time to get straight to the point of your greatness. It's in you, but you don't know it. You haven't learned how to consistently show it. It's never too late to return to the gate and lay a new foundation. When you join the genius nation, you'll with focus and poise make an authentic noise and claim your unique location with unmessable elation. Stand up because you matter. Without you, the world would be flatter and destiny's pattern would be missing a part. You were born to make life your art. So start today to craft a new way. I've got your back. Trust me with your heart. Love your soul. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I look forward to being of service for assessments, for programs. Everything can be done virtually. Thanks to the pandemic, I've learned how to facilitate with families around the world. You can contact me at support@thelearningforce.com, where there are warning signs checklists, hidden genius literacy assessments, and alphabetter learning systems. So check it out at alphabetter.ca and create a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. That was extremely interesting. I certainly go back time and time to the fact that, especially if children are sick and miss school and things like that, and something like I had 14 different schools during my schooling because my parents were in the services. So I think when you've had gaps about the alphabet, missing these huge gaps and being in front of one class and behind another class, things like that, I really do think the alphabet is a cause of a lot of our problems. And I think we need to find a different way of assessing their alphabet before they can go on. And we seem to rush them on. This might be my own opinion, but we seem to rush them on once they actually think, oh yes, you know, I can, the children know the alphabet. But it was extremely interesting. I didn't quite catch the end. You were born to succeed or something. So I'm sorry about that. I didn't quite catch that end word, but it was very, I really loved it. It was great, and I really liked the fact this project, which is 111,000 apparently, that for the global awareness. I'm really looking forward to how that goes. I hope you'll touch base with us in the future and let us know. But thank you very much indeed.